NXT starts off with Hank and Tank and Joe Hendry tag team together versus the Dark State. This was a solid match, but towards the end of the match, you end up getting Trick Williams interfering, continuing the feud between him and Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry, of course, just he didn't get distracted because Trick Williams ended up pulling him out the ring. They brawl to backstage. This allowed Dark State to take advantage on a 2-on-3 advantage, and they end up picking the victory. Makes sense. Dark State needed the victory to continue them being a strong faction. Plus, you continue the feud of Trick and Joe Hendry, continue that rivalry, and plus this plays into what happens later on in the show in the Battle Royal. So it makes sense why they did what they did. It was really the only option they had because Hank and Tank don't, take any they don't really lose any, well, I'm about to say credibility. That's the word I was looking for. They don't lose credibility. Joe Hendry don't lose credibility. So it makes sense for them to lose, and it only made sense for Darkseid to pick up the victory. After this, though, we end up getting Zarya versus Kalani Jordan due to last week. Zarya ended up saying that if Kalani wanted to get to the Women's North American Championship, Kalani got to get through her first. This was a solid match. This match has a somewhat controversial ending because technically you can say she won cleanly, which she did, but Kalani could also use the excuse that she also cheated at the same time. Because towards the end of the match, it was a moment where Kalani ended up running into Soruka. Soruka ended up catching her, and then while she was distracted, Zarya ended up taking advantage, spears her through the barricade, and picks up the victory. I like what they're doing here. I like the story that they're telling here, of course, of Zarya slowly eventually is going to turn on Soruka because every time they have an interaction, she constantly keeps staring at the title because after the match, while Soruka was, lifting her hand, she was continuing to stare at the title, and then they end up hugging. So I like the story that they're telling here. I hope it's executed well. I think this story can really be really, really good, especially with them playing the whole best friends dynamic. So I'm hoping that the story can get executed very well. Of course, and I'm very interested to see how long they drag this out. Because this is a story where you could drag this out for months like they did with Tatum Paxley. Or you could do this like next month and I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. So I'm very interested to see how long they drag this out. I think this is going to be like a good, maybe like a 2-month build. Because right now I still don't think we're close to seeing the actual heel turn due to the booking. But I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Now we end up getting the Battle Royal number one contendership match for the NXT Championship, and this match really surprised me. We end up getting the return of Elias, aka Elijah, who's in TNA now. So that was very cool to see. But towards the end of the match, we end up getting Joe Hendry. He comes out, distracts Trick Williams. Trick Williams gets eliminated from the match. And then, they end up brawling or whatever. And this ends up confirming that they're going to have a match at Battleground for the TNA Championship, which is the first time ever. So it's crazy that where we are in WWE now, that the fact that a TNA championships in general are being defended, and this is the first one defending on a PLE. Very shocking. The match should be very interesting. Now, it's a very predictable winner because I kind of wish it was not for any championship, because having it for the championship, I'm just going to be honest, that makes it so predictable. If it wasn't for the championship, I could actually see Trick or Joe Hendry winning due to how over they are. But having the championship on the line makes it very predictable that Joe Hendry is easily winning that match. But the match itself should be very interesting. Now, this was very interesting to end because out of all people who wins, Miles Bourne is the person who wins this match. I like it and I don't like it. I like it in the sense of I've been saying that they need to start pushing other men in your division due to your weak men's division. But I don't know if Miles Bourne needs to be in a NXT title picture though. And I like No Quarter Catch Crew, but it looks like they're telling the story of the downfall of the group because they're telling the story of Miles Bourne and Tavion taking action to their own hands and trying to break out. And in this, they end up having a segment later on where Charlie wanted Miles to give up his spot for the title, but Miles Bourne ended up saying no and basically ended up requesting that he'd just fight, Charlie would fight Open next week. So I'm assuming they're telling the story of the breakup or eventually kicking out Charlie. I don't know. So that could be interesting because they're not using them in the tag team division, so might as well use them as single stars, but I don't know if I like him going after the NXT championship though. I feel like you could have slowly built this up and have him go after, the North American or the Heritage, but the NXT championship is kind of wild in my opinion. I like they're pushing someone new. I just don't know if this was the time for it. That's just me. But I thought Javon Evans was going to win because he's the only, or they was probably going to have Oba be the babyface, have him face Ethan Page of some sort. But this is where we're going. We'll see how this plays out, but I'm very confused on why they went this direction though. Afterwards, we ended up getting Jada Parker versus Carmen Petrovic. This match ended up getting set up by a backstage segment. You know, the typical backstage segments they do where one person speaks, then the other person interrupts. Um, Basically, Jada Parker was talking down on Carmen Petrovic, ends up mentioning, Ashanti, because Carmen was about to keep on backstage, was talking to Thea Hill, saying that how she's about to start staying focused, and how she's done with Ashanti, and that she's ready to focus on, becoming champion. Where Jada interrupts, basically ends up saying that she ain't ready to be champion. She's too soft, she's too weak and pathetic, and that she's not ready for the opportunity. So we end up having a match. Jada Parker picks up the victory as she should. After the match, though, Jada ends up attacking Carmen Petrovic. She was trying to go for the hypnotic, but she ends up accidentally attacking Thea Hale, and that's the end of the segment there. I'm assuming this is going to be a continuing feud. That's what it looks like. The way it ended, it looks like we're going to continue this feud, which I don't mind. It's just that if we're going to continue this feud, how is this going to play out? Because is this going to be a 2-on-1 situation? Because I don't understand how this feud will play out if both women are just going to fight Jada Parker. Like, is Jada Parker going to get another person to help her? Like, that's where it's a bit confusing, though. But this could just be a one-time thing. But I like what they did here, and it was very interesting. And if this be a feud, I wouldn't be mad at it. Now we end up getting the main event: Jordan Grace versus Julia. Great match. These two put on a really great match in the ring. Number one contendership match for WWE Women's NXT Championship. Jordan Grace picks up the victory. Afterwards, Stephanie and Jordan Grace end up having a stare down. This was the obvious pick because Julia has been on Raw, so it doesn't make sense for her to get another shot at the NXT Championship. This should be her last opportunity, to be honest with you. And honestly, this should be her last episode in NXT. Just being honest, this should be her last show in NXT. Julia is not needed in NXT anymore. We don't need all of them on the show anymore. Honestly, we don't need Jordan Grace either. But having Jordan Grace on the show is fine. But yeah. I'm excited for Battleground. I'm excited to see how the rest of the card match up. But this was an overall good show. Stories progress, and I like what they did here. This was a very simple format that they executed, but I like what they did here. But you guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.